Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Could the secretary please call the roll?
Anna Braun.
Here.
Timothy Cummings. Jamie Falco.
Here.
Louis Figueroa. Lori Herrick.
Here.
Lee Woo Hong.
Here.
Wilbur Pan.
Here.
Heather Gloss.
Here. We have a quorum. Please rise to salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Good evening and happy summer. And to anyone who's a teacher, happy first Monday where you did not get up for an alarm and go to school. And congratulations to all of our graduates and their families. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend to the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed and acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the East Brunswick Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published and posted at the Board of Education offices. Written notice was also provided to the Sentinel, the Newark Star Ledger, the Home News Tribune, the Alternative Press of East Brunswick, and the Municipal Clerk of East Brunswick. All Board of Education meetings, with the exception of executive session discussions, are videotaped for later broadcast. It is the policy of the Board of Education that videotaped meetings are not edited for any purpose. Individuals who speak at the board's public meetings should be aware of these videotaping rules. All right, good evening. We are going to begin with the interviews to fill the vacancy on
We'll
the
take a
board.
brief recess so we can rearrange.
Sorry, and we are going to take a brief recess to rearrange. In the past, just so you know, we have put a very long table right here, which none of us felt was very friendly, especially as you sit with your backs to the people behind you as you answer, and I don't know, it wasn't very friendly. So we're trying it a little differently tonight, so just bear with us for a moment.
We're
Do I
in
need to-
recess.
Do I need to take a?
Nope.
Okay, we're in recess.
Good evening and welcome. This meeting is for the interview of candidates to fill a vacancy on the Board of Education. The selected candidates seated before us are Denise Contrino, Tatiana Jordan, Neil Shaw, and Mary Ann Tanios. Prior to the meeting, each candidate's name was placed in individual canisters, and those canisters were placed in a drawing box from which each name was drawn. The order in which each name was drawn is the order in which candidates will initially be called upon and then rotated through to either make a statement or respond to questions. Each candidate will be called upon when it is his or her turn to respond. To the candidates. When you were invited to be interviewed, you were apprised of the interview format, that questions would be asked, and that you would be allotted 2 minutes to respond to each question. The questions were not shared with you in advance. Before we begin with questions, I'll set my timer. And you each have 1 minute to make an opening statement describing why you are interested in becoming a member of the Board of Education and discussing why the board should select you to fill the vacancy. We'll begin with Mary Ann Tanios.
Hi, good evening. I'm Mary Ann Tanios. I want to fulfill this role because I feel like it's a critical time in our district. And I am an alumni, and I know the potential that this district has, and I would like to see that in the next 10 years at least, we are able to carry out the same level of education that I received for not just my children, but all 8,100 students in this district. I serve currently as a PTA president. I have been on a PTA board for the last 9 years. I'm able to see what the needs of our students are, what the needs of our faculty is, and I hope to be able to bring those forward and share my experiences and listen to what the community would like to see happen as well. I'm ready and willing to collaborate with our current board. Thank you.
Thank you. Denise Contrino.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak this evening. I'm here because the future of our schools, our students, and our community is very important to me. I've lived in East Brunswick for over 25 years. I have volunteered for most of those 25 years, from everything from PTA to neighborhood association to starting the track and field booster club at the high school. I sat on town council for 8 years, and during that time I learned how being involved and having thoughtful discussions with the community was very valuable. I think that we need to have more communication with the community. Although we do have great communication right now, I think a little bit more would be helpful, and I'm always looking for ways to learn and to get the word out about what things are going on in East Brunswick.
Thank you. Next is Neil Shaw.
Hi, my name is Neil Shaw. I have been a resident here in East Brunswick for the last 21 years. My children and my wife have moved here for the reason because of the school system. For the first 15, 20 years, we really pushed our children to do better, and it paid off. We owe a lot to the school district. We owe a lot to the school system. My daughter, who's here in the audience today, she has graduated back in 2023, and she is on a successful career path at the University of Connecticut. We couldn't have done it without everybody that's in this room, everybody that's helped her along. So I think it's now my opportunity to give back and be able to provide the same type of services, same type of opportunities that my children and our families received. Thank you.
Thank you. And Tatiana Jordan.
First and foremost, thank you so much for this opportunity, Mr. Juliana, board members, President Guas, and all the community members in the room. We also, I'm a transplant from New York and knew nothing about Middlesex County, but I did my homework, and we landed in East Brunswick for the school district. I am an educator. I've just finished up my 16th year in the classroom, and so every decision that I make in terms of the Board of Education would be with students first. The students' success is paramount, and in order to do that, we need to be able to give a voice to the teachers, the support staff, and the parents. They need to be valued, heard, and respected. And that is my main priority of being on this board. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to our first question. The Board of Education is a consensus-seeking group. Respect is the driving force behind our process of discussion, consideration, debate, and conclusion. Please share your thoughts on how you would partner with us throughout the consensus process. Denise Contrino goes first.
I think it's important to have respectful dialogue. While not everyone is always going to agree, it's important that we can agree to disagree and do it respectfully. I've been sad to see the amount of disrespect that has been shown to the board members, and I think that it's really difficult to sit up here as a volunteer and constantly be criticized. So a better understanding of what the board members go through will be developed slowly and carefully so that I can understand the position that everyone is on, and we can either agree or agree to disagree to come to a decision on any of the issues that come before us.
Okay, thank you. Next, we go to Neil Shaw.
This is a great question because for the last 3 years, I have been part of the Fast Break Board. In that, we have a motto: if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go to great lengths, you go together. So consensus is actually a very important thing because you can't make decisions alone. You won't go very far. Consensus is worked on, and the way that we work on consensus is by respectful listening, collaborating, and being able to take the partners that we have up here and their expertise and be able to share in their points of views. And I believe in consensus. We've done really well on the Fast Break Board, and I think I can bring that same experience to the Board of Education.
Okay. Thank you. And now we go to Tatiana Jordan.
So part of my role as a teacher, I'm an E&L teacher, formerly known as ESL. Their acronyms are always changing in education. I push in and I pull out students. So when I push in, I go into somebody else's domain, into their kingdom. And if you're a teacher, you know, going into somebody else's classroom is their home. And you have to work together and you have to collaborate. I prefer to use the word collaborate over consensus, and that's just my personal belief, because I don't want to blindly make a decision for the sake of making the decision, because I think we need to have open, respectful, honest dialogue. We need to ask critical questions, and we need to work together. And I think my experience is working with other teachers who have different teaching styles, classroom management, all of that. We have to come together and form a united front for the success of the students.
Thank you. And next, we go to Mary Tanyos.
So while I agree that consensus can be constructive, I think what's more important is having dialogue with constructive criticism. I have a doctorate in pharmacy and I work in the pharmaceutical industry, and I can tell you that no pharmaceutical company would thrive without constructive criticism. The lack of that leads to complacency, and complacency is basically a breeding ground for failure. I think it's important to be able to challenge each other, to challenge our thought process, our decision-making abilities, and to come to an agreement based on actually hearing each other. There has to be some room and some leverage for, it's not just about I win or you win, it's about how do we win together, and is this really the idea that we want to present for our students and our community. And so I think consensus should be viewed as a collaborative effort, taking all of those things into consideration, not just about let's just agree for the sake of agreeing.
Okay, thank you. I ask the audience to please hold any applause. Thank you. Next question. During an interview, we are often asked, what are your greatest strengths? What could you tell us in regard to something that would be a potential challenge for yourself in becoming part of a team? We start with Neil Shaw.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Yes. During an interview process, we are often asked, what are your greatest strengths? What could you tell us in regard to something that would be a potential challenge for yourself in becoming part of a team?
I think that when you are interviewing, you try to put your best foot forward. And sometimes you do get nervous. The thoughts that are in your head are rattling around, and you can't sometimes articulate what you want to say. However, that also becomes a benefit, because once you start to relax and you're able to create that thought train that you want to come out, you're able to push your experiences and your real life, experiences toward that. And I look at it as the challenge when you're interviewing, because the thoughts that are in your head are kind of what you want to articulate, but you don't know what the questions that are coming from. I apologize. I lost my train of thought, so.
If you want a moment to regroup, you have another minute.
Yeah. So again, I believe that in an interview process, it's really difficult to articulate what you want to say, because a lot of times there's so much that you want to say and there's so much that you want to do, but you're unable to process those words. And I think this is the biggest challenge for me at this point.
Okay. Thank you. Next, we go to Tatiana Jordan.
So one of my greatest strengths is that I have been in education for so long, so I know the intricacies of a classroom and what teachers and support staff need and what students need. However, one of the challenges of that is I would have to come to the Board of Education and understand the intricacies of the Board of Education, where we're working as a district. And I would have to learn about policies and laws and budgets, and it seems overwhelming and daunting, especially when you, Mr. Juliana, sit here and do your budget presentation, and I'm trying to follow you as best as I can. But I think that given my experience in education, I'm better able to navigate that, and I'm willing and dedicated to navigating that. And again, it's not just one classroom we're talking about. We're talking about 8,000 students that we need to make sure that we are doing right by every step of the way, in addition to the faculty and staff that support them. Thank you.
Thank you. Marian Tanios.
Yeah, so one of my greatest strengths is that I'm the head of a global team. I'm also, like I said, a PTA president. I've sat on a PTA board for the last 9 years, and you deal with all different kinds of people. And at the end of the day, you have to say to yourself, this isn't about me, this isn't about them, this is about what is the objective or the goal or the mission of this team as a whole. It takes a great deal of discipline to be able to put aside like your viewpoints and to say, how do we move forward as a whole? And then at the same time, those are the potential challenges in becoming a part of a team, because especially when it's a new team such as this, you are learning everybody's personality, you're trying to adapt, you're trying to understand what their thought process is, where they're coming from, what their experiences have been to get them to this point. But I think that the good thing about a board is that it's hopefully a reflection of the cohort that this town is. It's a reflection of what does everybody here need. So it's a challenge in learning that, and it's a challenge in convincing everyone of, we're all in this together. But that's part of the strength of that I would hope to bring forward, is that I've done this so many times in my professional career, in my personal life, and again, as already a member of this community. So I would hope to bring that forward to this role as well.
Okay. Thank you. And Denise Cantrino.
Thank you. I'm sorry, could I ask you to repeat the question
Absolutely.
one more time?
Absolutely. During an interview, we are often asked, what are your greatest strengths? What could you tell us in regard to something that would be a potential challenge for yourself in becoming part of a team?
So stepping onto a team where members obviously have more knowledge than you do because they've been on for a longer period of time, and especially in an educational setting where I don't have experience. However, I do come with many years of volunteer experience. I also sat on town council for 8 years, which was an immensely rewarding learning experience. And while the two entities are separate, I think that a lot of it is also the same. And while I will have a large learning curve, I take that as a challenge so that I can learn new things from the people that are on the board by asking questions. And when we don't know the answer to something, that's when we turn to the professionals who know better than we do, and we rely on them for the information. So basically, I think the learning curve would probably be the biggest challenge, but I don't take that as a setback. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. We have all heard the saying, the Board of Education doesn't run the district, it ensures it is well run. Another way to look at this is that a board member is an ambassador for their school district. What would make you a viable ambassador for our diverse group of residents? We begin with Neil Shaw.
This is a great question, actually. Being an ambassador in town is a privilege. Being part of many different organizations like the youth sports and basketball, baseball, and soccer, as well as being on the board of trustees for Fast Break, we are always ambassadors. We meet different diverse groups of people out there. We need to understand what they're looking for in the group that you're working with. Therefore, being an ambassador is more of a privilege, and it is more of an informative position than a title. Thank you.
Next, we go to Denise Contrino.
Thank you. I agree that being a board member is also being an ambassador to our community. You need to be someone who listens, someone who represents the whole community, and someone who builds trust within the community by listening to them and responding to them. One of the biggest things that residents, I think, are concerned about is the lack of answers to things. At least when I was on town council, they wanted an answer to things right away, and sometimes that's not always possible. So following up and getting back to residents when they have a question or a concern in a relatively timely manner, I think is important, because as an ambassador, you are their go-to person. You are, especially when they know you, they want to be able to speak to you, they want to be able to talk to you, they want to be able to understand what's going on. So you have to be able to represent the board in a respectful manner and educate the community about the things that they may not understand for the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Tatiana Jordan.
The diversity in this school district is amazing, and it's one of the best things about this school district, where your children are exposed to so many different cultures, religions, languages. And being an ESL teacher, I also get that privilege every day of seeing the different students that come into my room and seeing their firsts, like their first snowfall and their first Halloween or their first pep rally. And I really feel like I'm an ambassador within my own school for my children, for my students, and I would extend that role here as well. For a lot of our families, this is the first time they're navigating an American school system, and they need help, and they need somebody to help guide and support them. And so I would really like to reach out to families and be that tool for them, because I think it could be very overwhelming and daunting. And as our demographics are changing, some of these families do need a little bit more guidance and support. And having the background that I have, even my own husband, who's not from this country, I have to explain to him why it was so disappointing that field day was postponed 2 times, because he didn't understand the concept of field day and why it was such a big deal for the students. But also being approachable for these families, because you need to be able to connect to these families, to engage with them, and to have them trust you. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mary Ann Tangers.
So as I said, I grew up here, so I moved my family here because I know the value of East Brunswick. I know the value of our diversity. I know what the town's needs are. I also serve the high school youth group at St. Mary's Church here in town, so I know what that encompasses. I think it's important when you represent your town, you take it all the way. I have been to Trenton. I am a member of the NJPTA Legislative Committee, so we're there to represent our schools as well. And I think it's critical to be able to know what happens here. And I think it's important, with that being said, as an ambassador, it's important that, eventually this leads to an election process. You should represent even the people who didn't vote for you, because you're here to represent every member of this town, whether you are aligned with their views, whether their experiences are the same as you or not. You're here to represent everyone, and I would hope to be able to fulfill that in this role. That will be a great deal of effort on my part to do that.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next question. What role do you feel the district should play in the East Brunswick community? And please identify an opportunity for improvement. And we'll begin with Mary Ann Tangos.
So I think that and I'm not an educator, but I agree with a lot of what was said, that the school environment has obviously changed since I was even in school. People rely on schools as their social aspect for their children. I think we saw a lot of that during COVID when there were no schools. And so the schools definitely need to be the information disseminator and an actual community feel. I think that for improvement, there needs to be a lot more communication. We used to, many years ago, have a communication committee where this information was freely and openly shared. There were, now a lot of the times we're getting our information from WhatsApp groups. There's a WhatsApp group for every graduating class. So there should be something officially coming in, because parents are talking to each other and there's no formal source of information, and that would be so great to have. An area of improvement with that is, as I just said, that there needs to be an actual formal communication, and I think when concerns are voiced, they should be heard and validated, just because, even as a board member, if my experience hasn't been what someone else's has, that doesn't mean that it's not real and it's not happening. And there should be a greater deal of effort to make sure that, the issues are addressed.
Thank you. Denise Contrino.
Thank you. I think the Board of Ed plays a vital role in the heart of the community. Families with children, this is like their first segue, I guess, into the community, is when where their children go to school and their children make friends and the parents become friends with the children's parents' friends. So the Board of Ed really is the heart of the community. And it's where relationships are built, values are shared, and it really is the heart of the community. One of the ways that I think we could do better, as Mary Ann Tano said, is communication. One of the ideas that I had shared previously was having a podcast with the superintendent, with different employees, different principals, even the students, to come on to share what their learning experience has been, maybe a project that they're working on, so that the town and the students and the teachers and everyone, even people who aren't involved with the school district, like seniors and people who don't have children yet, can really get a grasp of what is going on with the schools in our town and how valuable it is to our children.
Thank you. Neil Shaw.
So I think the school system should be a safe space. That's first and foremost. The schools are a place to learn. It's a place to express oneself. It's a place to grow. Where we can improve is to keep encouraging that. You can't stay still. That safe space has to be continuously communicated to our students. We have a lot of different diverse children out there. We have a lot of children that are out there not knowing, may not have a safe home. We got to continue to make the schools a safe place. We got to continue to encourage diversity. We got to continue to encourage just the differences that makes up East Brunswick as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Tatiana Jordan.
I think the school district and the community are intertwined, and it should be that way. Because we come to this community because of the school district, it's a relationship that needs to always be intertwined. And one of the things that I love about this school district, and I started with my children at the ELA program, and now we just finished kindergarten and first grade, is the school community, and how that school community has fostered a love of learning for my children. And I hope that goes across the district and not just my elementary school. And that's what I would hope that going forward we build that towards. One of the areas of improvement that I think we can do better, and that is family and parent engagement. I think that it's really hard sometimes for parents to come out at events. I think the parent universities are great, but the turnout hasn't always been great. And we need to find ways as a board to figure out how we can help these parents come out. Because if you have more parents coming out, you have more parents engaged, the students will be more successful. And one of the things that I planned in my school district, we do parent engagement nights where we have the high school students who need community service hours to graduate come and offer babysitting services for parents so that the parents can attend the meeting and then they can bring their children, because a lot of time childcare is an issue for some parents, that they can, then bring their children and they can attend the meeting and have their children in a safe place. Small little things like that, I think, go a long way, especially when you're trying to foster a really healthy relationship between the school district and the families.
Thank you. We're almost at the end. As we end the interview session, you each have 1 minute to make a closing statement. And we begin with Denise Contrino.
Well, thank you for having me here this evening. I know this is a nerve-wracking experience, at least for me. Public speaking has never been one of my strong points, but it's something that is required in a lot of the roles that we have today. While I don't have an educational background, I do bring a fresh perspective to the board. I have strong communication skills, I have leadership skills, I have very good listening skills, and I hope that I will have the opportunity to serve for the few months that this position, I believe, is for. One of the things that I am not is political. Although I sat on town council for 8 years, I was an elected official. I was not a politician. I was a member for all residents in East Brunswick, not just the ones that voted for me, but also for the ones that didn't. So I hope that I will have an opportunity to learn from the Board of Ed while I sit on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Neil Shaw.
Great things in business cannot be done by one person. Great things happen because a great team comes together. I'm really excited to be a part of this board because I feel that collaborating has been a part of what I've been doing for the last 15 years in this town. I also believe that my experience with the different communities and the different organizations that I've taken part in will give me a little bit of an edge. I know today, like Denise said, public speaking is definitely not one of my strong suits. My strong suits is budgeting and finance, and I believe that this group can benefit from my ability to do research, my ability to take in numbers, be able to curb spend where it needs to be, and also be able to respect everybody else's expertise on the group.
Thank you. Tatiana Jordan.
Thank you again for this opportunity. I think my biggest takeaway of all of this is that I want to be able to mend the relationship that's been fractured among the community members and all the stakeholders, community members, faculty, staff, parents. And I feel like I have that ability to do that because I am in education and I am a parent with a long way to go in this district. And I really want to be a voice for the faculty and staff, because if they're successful, then the students are successful, and we need to value their expertise. They are the experts, and we need to include their input in every decision-making process that we go through. So I really hope that we move forward and we mend these fractured relationships. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So thank you to the candidates for participating. Oh, I'm sorry. I jumped ahead. Thank you for keeping me on task. Mary Ann Tanios,
Yeah.
my apologies.
No, it's okay. So my main thing is the EB students, right? There's 8,100 of them. As I said, I'm an alumni. I know what this district can offer. I got accepted right out of high school into a doctorate program. The dean of my school lives in town. That's the caliber that the East Brunswick student can operate at. I want to continue that for us, and I know that we have some challenges along the way. Some of them are outside of our control, like the state budget issues, but a lot of the things we can take care of on our own internally here when we work together and collaborate. I think it's a very critical time, especially as we look for a new superintendent. This is our leader, and essentially this is going to be, as I was walking into this building, I noticed that it said John Kopko Administration Building, who was the superintendent for 11 years. And great things came out of those 11 years. This is what we're trying to do. So we're trying to establish
finish
that.
the statement.
Yeah. Establish that for future generations.
Thank you. My apologies for missing you on that last one. And now, thank you to the candidates for participating in this process. Following this public session, the board will recess into closed session to discuss each of the candidates. The board will not decide until the formal nomination process takes place in a public meeting, which is scheduled to occur this evening. All candidates will be informed after that occurs. So at this time, we're going to take a brief recess so that we can rearrange and proceed with the meeting.
All right, we're back, and I can see everyone again, which is very nice. I think we would like to take a moment to just explain the procedure a little bit before we go to the good of the cause for the public. Mr. Giacobbe?
Oh, sure. Under New Jersey law, the board can deliberate in closed session about the candidates and have a discussion. And the reason that the discussion or the deliberation takes place in closed session is to protect your privacy rights. We do closed session for staff, students, and you're permitted to have that discussion in closed session about the board's discussion relative to the candidates. The board cannot vote. They can't take a straw poll. All voting for the candidates must occur in public. And it's set forth in a board policy 0143 that requires a nomination and a second, and there can be several of them. Once all the nominations and seconds are closed, the board members will get written ballots. They will write down who they select. They get one vote, and then the board secretary will count the numbers. In order to be appointed to a Board of Education, it requires the majority of the full membership of the board. So what does that mean? This is a 9-member board. There has to be
Eight.
5. It's a 9-member board.
Okay.
You have 9 seated members, so you need 5 affirmative votes. It's the majority of the full membership of the board. So right now you have 8 because you have a vacancy. You still require to have a majority of 5. So right now you see we have 1, 2, 3,
6.
we have 6. 4-2, nobody can be appointed. It would require 5 affirmative votes. So I just wanted to explain that that's the legal process that's required under New Jersey law. The vote takes place in public. It will need 5 affirmative votes.
All right, thank you. We had some inquiries today about it. I thought it would be better to just explain it here to everyone than just answer 1 or 2 individual emails. All right, moving on to the good of the cause for the public. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. To protect the privacy of all students and staff, concerns regarding individual students and staff members should generally be addressed by first meeting with the appropriate administrative staff. In order to permit the fair and orderly expression of such comment, the board shall provide a period of public comment at each meeting of the board. Each person who steps up to speak will be given 3 minutes. The board secretary keeps the time. When you step up, if you could, give your name and address, unless you're a student, and then just your name and school. We would appreciate that. Is there anyone here tonight wishing to address the board? Come on up. Thank you.
Do I say it here? Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Anushka Shah. I guess I'm not a student anymore, so I live at 1 Jennifer Court. And I'm proud to be here tonight, not just as a former East Brunswick school system student, but as the daughter of someone I look up to. Thank you for allowing me a few minutes to share where I believe my dad, Neil Shah, is the right person for this important role. Growing up with my dad, I've seen firsthand how much he cares, not just about me, but about every kid's future. For example, while I was younger, I played as a part of East Brunswick's recreation soccer team, And I remember our team was left in a hard situation with not having a coach to guide our practices. Coach Dad then volunteered, and he went on to play an unforgettable couple of seasons. He's the kind of person who takes the time to listen and who shows up, and who believes that every child deserves to be heard, have fun, and be supported. He didn't stop there, though. He also went on to coach my brother's baseball and fast break team, and is an active participant in buddy ball, showing how he not only is there for me and my brother, but also several other children in East Brunswick. He's always been someone who isn't afraid to speak up for what he believes in, whether it was helping with my extracurricular events or the East Brunswick community. He's always been there to show me the importance of character and responsibility, skills that have shaped me to be the person I am today. What makes him different is that he doesn't just talk about change. He puts in the work. He believes in strong schools, open communication, and making sure that every voice, from students to parents to teachers, is heard and respected. During my time at East Brunswick High School, I served as student council president, and I had the pleasure of seeing firsthand how the school system works with administration. From this experience, I have witnessed what it takes to be someone who can fulfill this role, and I can confidently say that if he is elected to be on the board, he will work tirelessly to make our schools better, not just for me, but for every future and current student in East Brunswick. And as a soon-to-be empty nester, with me being an upcoming junior in college, and with my brother graduating next year, I admire how he still wants to make a difference in other children's lives, just as he did while I was in the school system. So from one student to a room full of voters, I ask you to please support my dad for this role, and I promise he will make you proud. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Hi, my name is Bobby LeMay, and I'm at 249 Bromley Place. I'm actually speaking on behalf of Howie Alexander, who could not be here today because he's under the weather. I fully support Neil Shaw for the Board of Education. Working closely with Neil over the last few years, he is passionate about doing anything he can for the entire betterment of children and students. He has worked tirelessly to make Fast Break a total inclusive environment, one where kids can grow, express themselves, and feel like they matter. Having a son presently in the EB school system and a daughter who went through the system, he is thoroughly in touch with the needs of students. Neil will be a tremendous asset for the board, community, and children of East Brunswick. Thank you, Howie Alexander.
Thank you, Bobby. Anyone else?
Adam Altman, 3 Burlington Lane. The past month's conversations have circled around curriculum issues or the high level of anxiety and depression within the school. However, no one talks about what resources we use to potentially fill the gaps. And no one talks about what is possibly causing anxiety and depression within the school system. The elephant in the room are the district's finances and the constant budget restraints, taking away from the resources to improve the curriculum and to counseling services and potential tone of negativity that permeates throughout the system. I admire many of the board administrators as well as many of the board members. The people on the board for their expertise, the commitment to the community. However, I do feel the current board could improve on monitoring and evaluating potential waste, misappropriation of funds, and the effects of potentially a negative culture. Out of all the candidates you've heard today, I have 2 candidates. One, I'm not sure why, was not able to speak today. Out of the 2 candidates, both Neil Shaw and Jack Levitt have both had their background in finance and have been successful in their own careers, leading companies through successful team building and building a positive culture. I think the district is aware of the accomplishments Jack has achieved with the EBEF and his commitment to making schools a better place. Again, I'm not sure of the contractual restrictions or anything that came up, but I think he should have been given a chance. Perhaps, though, Neil's accomplishments are less well known to the school. Neil has been a dedicated volunteer and leader to the Fast Break basketball community. I've been fortunate as a volunteer to see his dedication, his commitment to this system. He turned around a program that was doing well, but was missing the community aspect and the team approach, and quite frankly, had some potential issues with misappropriation of funds as well. Neil, along with the new board, has focused on positive culture and building the community organization that continues to give back to the community through both Buddy Bowl and Fast Break. Neil's career in counseling, accounting, organizational behavior allows him to bring a unique perspective to running a business and seeing various perspectives to come to a shared level of success, not just for himself, but for everyone and the community. This is why I feel the board should strongly consider either Jack, which again, I'm not sure why that's not the case, or Neil Shaw to fill the current vacancy and meet the responsibility and expectations that we all feel that you guys will take seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Anyone else?
Jack Levitt, 4 Springfield Road. First, before I start, a couple of housekeeping things. First, condolences to Dr. Figueroa and Jen on the loss of Jen's father. Want to wish all the candidates good luck tonight. And finally, my apologies to President Guas. I broke a cardinal rule of mine, that is not to shoot the messenger, and I shot the messenger. I realize I could have handled our conversation in a much better manner, and I hope you can accept my apology.
Thank you.
The conversation I refer to is when President Guas had the unenviable task of telling me I couldn't interview tonight. It came to our attention by another board member that I have a contract with the board. I have a fence that protruded into Warrensdorfer's woods, and in 2014, the board issued my family a license to keep it there until we either sell our home or we move the fence. We have since moved it, but the contract was not avoided, so technically, the bylaws don't allow me to apply for a board position right now. Measures are being taken to complete that process, and I appreciate Mr. Juliana helping me with that this afternoon. It just makes me wonder, though, how I was able to interview and run last year with this contract in place. Why didn't the board take action then? It seems to me that someone or someones up there specifically didn't want me to interview. Was it the intention to reduce the competition for their candidate, or did they not believe enough in their own choice that that person wouldn't rise to the top on their own? To most of the board members, you know I'm not talking to you, but I want you all to know, and I want the community to know, that there's someone in our midst who clearly doesn't take the oath seriously to do what's best for the district. And clearly that isn't listening for the best candidate tonight, but rather one who suits their personal needs. As a community, we'll be watching to see how the vote goes and who may reveal themselves as this supposed do-gooder who helped keep me from running because my fence would cloud my judgment. Also, kudos to the board for deciding not to humiliate the candidates by discussing their qualifications in public. Leaders compliment in public and criticize in private. Most importantly, they don't quit. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
Dom Sclafani, 6 Fairfield Road. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but then I heard what Jack just said. That's just, lack of a better word, stupid. Everyone should get an interview. It shouldn't matter if there's contracts or whatever. Everyone should get an interview, and you discuss that after the fact. You know, he said that you're working on fixing that or whatever. Like, okay, if it was fixed after the interview, then everything would be fine. But yeah, that's just unacceptable, stupid, whatever. Thank you.
Thank you, Dom. Anyone else? All right, I'm going to close the public portion. All right, closed session resolution. Whereas the Board of Education must discuss matters which are not appropriate for discussion in a public meeting, and whereas these subjects are within the exception to the Open Public Meeting Act and are permitted to be discussed in closed session pursuant to NJSA 10-4-12B, and whereas the Board of Education intends to discuss matters as listed on tonight's agenda. Whereas the length of the closed session is estimated to be 2 hours, after which the public of the meeting and the board shall reconvene and action will be taken. Therefore, let it be resolved, the East Brunswick Board of Education will recess into closed session for the aforesaid subjects. Let's see, and be it further resolved that the East Brunswick Board of Education hereby declares that its discussion of the aforesaid subjects will be made public at a time when the public's interest in disclosure is greater than any privacy or governmental interest being protected from disclosure in accordance with the Open Publics Meeting Act. Can I have a motion, please?
Move.
Second.
All right, Wilbur then Jamie. Discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right.
Actions to be taken.
Oh, thank you.
Action, we said that already. Action will be
Okay,
taken.
action will be taken after 2 hours when we return, and we are in closed. Thank you very much. All right, welcome back. It was like 105 degrees in the back room. We are all lighter. But we are up to nominations to appoint a board member for the vacancy. Right, the nominations to fill the board member vacancy will be received from board members in attendance. A second is required on the nomination pursuant to bylaw 143, board member election and appointment. Do you go from here or do I go from here?
Okay, so at this point, the floor is open for nominations.
I'd like to nominate Mary Ann Tanius.
As second.
Are there any other nominations?
I would like to nominate Denise Cantrino.
I'll second.
Okay. Are there any other nominations?
I would like to nominate Neil Shaw.
I'll second.
Second?
Yeah.
Any other nominations? Okay. So seeing none, nominations are closed. So the process is, these are ballots. The ballots are blank. You will insert the name of the individual you were voting for, check off that box, insert the name, sign it, print your name, fold it, and then they get returned here, and then I'll count the ballots. So, to this way, or this way. You may only vote for one of the nominees. So the process from here is that I will read aloud each ballot and who voted for the individual. You vote for Mary Ann Tanios by Wilbur Pan. I vote for Mary Ann Tanios by Jamie Falco. A vote for Mary Ann Tanios by Li Wu Hong. A vote for Mary Ann Tanios by Anna Braun. A vote for Mary Ann Tanios by Lori Herrick. A vote for Denise Cantrino by Heather Guas. Mary Ann Tanios is the duly elected individual. So, Ms. Tanios, we'll have a conversation after the board meeting. There are some things you will need to do before you can be seated on the board and take the oath of office. Okay? Congratulations.
Congratulations, Brunswick. This is amazing.
The meeting is still in order, so please keep your seats.
All right. At this point, I need a motion to adjourn.
Move.
Wilbert, Jamie, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, we are adjourned. I will see you all tomorrow.
Okay.